I, William Arthur Philip Louis, take thee, Catherine Elizabeth, as my wedded wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death us do part.
It's the wedding that was watched by billions of people around the world. Prince William and Kate Middleton got married on April 29, 2011 at Westminster Abbey in London, England. And it was an event that will go down in history.
You know, security alone is probably going to cost £1 million, if not more. There's going to be processionals, there's going to be caterers.
For the first time in centuries, a future king is going to marry a woman who is neither a member of royalty or British aristocracy.
I think we're going to see a lot of elements in this wedding that we haven't seen before in a royal wedding. It's going to reflect both William and Kate's personalities. What a fabulous day to be here in London. The entire world is watching.
She has been prepared really to put her normal life on hold ever since leaving university.
Follow the story of a true fairy tale, a moment of British history that will live long in the memory.
This is a marriage that's built on a genuine love.
Before the day of the wedding, there was much speculation as to who Kate Middleton would choose to design her dress.
Bruce Oldfield has been mentioned. I know Bruce very well. I went to a fashion show because Kate was in a student fashion show. I went to one student fashion show which ended up with a Bruce Oldfield wedding dress which was being modelled by Yasmin Le Bon at Cambridge University. I don't think he's going to design the wedding dress, for the simple reason that he's talking about it. If he was going to design it, he wouldn't talk about it. But I do believe that Bruce Oldfield will probably design Mrs. Middleton's outfit for the great day. And I think Kate Middleton has enough courage and individuality to choose from all over the world who she wants as her designer.
Honestly, I've got no idea, and everybody asks me these questions. At the end of the day, it's down to Kate Middleton, who she wants to go to. I don't even know how essential it is for it to be a British designer. Honestly, I've got no idea. I think it's good if the person is experienced, though, because it's such a huge job that it helps, you know, if you've got a track record of designing couture. Because at the end of the day, it's a handmade dress for one person. It's got to be totally unique, and you have to have a very good team in place that knows how to do that kind of a dress.
English designer Sarah Burton, creative director of the luxury fashion house Alexander McQueen, was selected by Kate to design the dress. And it was a thing of beauty.
I think it was understated elegance. I'm glad that it wasn't overworked or overhandled.
The royal family undertook colossal preparations to make sure the wedding was perfect. Millions of pounds were spent on security and caterers to ensure every aspect of the wedding was of the highest quality.
You know, security just alone is probably going to cost £1 million, if not more. There's going to be processionals, there's going to be caterers.
So how did you feel when you got the call early in February? Did you think, oh, someone's having me on here?
I couldn't believe it. I was overjoyed, but I was working with half a dozen other people, and so after the call I had to carry on pretending that nothing had actually happened, and that was a little tricky. Well, I've met Catherine. I haven't met Prince William, but I do know that they are fans of our particularly of our fruitcake, and we've worked together on developing we've been guided very much so by the couple, by Catherine especially. And right at the beginning we were given some mood boards which she had created, and we have been guided by her right at the beginning, and it's lovely that she as a bride, has such a strong idea of what she would like, because that's not always the case. So the cake will be traditional, but with a modern twist.
The day of the wedding was a truly magnificent spectacle to behold. Thousands of people flocked the streets of London to soak up the atmosphere. A true sense of unity and patriotism swept the nation.
What a fabulous day to be here in London. The entire world is watching. Something like 2 billion people watch this on television, on the internet, more than any other event, forget royal event, any event in history, tuned in to watch William and Kate get married today. It's a really exciting atmosphere here. I think people are very proud to be English. You're seeing a lot of nationalism, a lot of Union Jacks displayed everywhere, and of course the large contingent of Americans and people from all over the world who have come to celebrate this very, very special couple.
I have with me Paddy Harverson, who is Communications Secretary at Clarence House, who's the man absolutely at the centre of these last few months of preparations and planning. How are you feeling today? How's it all gone?
Very excited, yeah, and relaxed. I think the planning's gone well. We're all here, the crowds are here, the weather's holding on, so it's fantastic.
And tell me about the Prince. How's he doing this morning?
He's great. I mean, he's had breakfast with his brother and their friends, and I was with him last night. We were in the press office at Clarence House, and he rang up, said, I want to go outside and meet the crowd. So we all piled out. And it was just fantastic, a lovely spontaneous thing. He wanted to go and say thank you to everyone for coming along and queuing up overnight. So he's in great form.
Not nervous at all, do you think?
No, I'm sure he is now, but certainly last night he was in great form. Yeah, really good.
This event has been, a few years coming, hasn't it? We're just seeing the Speaker and his wife, John Bercow and his wife, just arriving at the Abbey, and they're just going in the north door right now. But to return to you, Paddy, this event has been a long time in the planning, hasn't it? And the Prince has been very clear that he didn't ever want to rush into anything. He wanted to give Kate the chance to consider everything that she was getting herself into. How much of a concern has that been for you all?
Well, we take our lead from him, from Prince William, and right from the beginning he's wanted to go at his own pace. He's his own man, and she is her own woman, and between them they've worked out their future together, and they brought it to us. We didn't know it was coming for the engagement. We've had a relatively short amount of time to plan the wedding, but they've been in charge from the start. So this whole thing has their personal stamp on it, especially the service. I think people will find it really moving, beautiful. It will be their day, their moment.
And Kate, of course, is going to be embraced by the British people, isn't she? And we're already seeing her emerging more and more as a personality in her own right.
Yeah, she's a lovely, lovely person, yeah. And I think people will get to know her, obviously, over time. But she's just really wonderful, and they're a great couple together, and that's the real strength of it.
Huge undertaking for her and for them both, of course.
It is, but they have the courage and strength, and the love for each other will enable them to do that.
Your job's going to get a lot different now, isn't it? Because you're going to be dealing with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, of course.
Indeed.
So we have new names, the Countess of Strathearn, is
That's
that
right,
correct?
Yeah.
And new challenges, I suppose, associated with that in terms of communications, in terms of image and so on.
Yes, but I think actually it's not too difficult. New members of the family have come along before, and I think the family rallies around, and I think we'll find that they'll get a lot of support from both their families and from the institution of the monarchy, and I think they will manage it really well, and we'll just be there to support them.
As the British public filled the streets of London to view the historic event, the ceremony boasted a star-studded lineup.
Obviously, one of the biggest names at the wedding, especially in the UK, was Victoria Beckham, because her and her husband David Beckham are almost British royalty. They're as close as you can come, really. I mean, their house was nicknamed Buckingham Palace, just like Buckingham Palace. So we were all fascinated to see how Victoria Beckham looked, because obviously she was so pregnant on the wedding day as well. And of course, Elton John, he was one of the major celebrity guests there. His connection to William comes from the fact that he was a very close friend of his mother, Princess Diana, and who could forget his performance of Candle in the Wind at Princess Diana's funeral, which obviously, in a sad and ironic twist, was also held at Westminster Abbey.
As Prince William made his way to Westminster Abbey, he was surrounded by thousands of screaming bystanders, all of who were cheering on the future King of England.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to meet William on several occasions. Once recently at Clarence House, because I'm an ambassador to one of the charities that he spearheads since his mother is gone, Centrepoint. And he's a very grounded, very unassuming, charming young man. He's got his mother's beauty and charm and his father's dry sense of humor and wit. He likes to joke. I think that this is a marriage that has a good chance. I think they have to work on it. I don't think they can bail at the first difficulty. I think it should be kept private. It's their business. I think that people at large should leave them to it and not interfere. Every marriage, every partnership is difficult. You go through layers and layers and layers, and hopefully they're savvy enough to understand the layers of marriage. But I have great respect for William. I think he's a great bloke. And Catherine seems like a very strong-minded woman. I think the omission of obey out of the vows was very, very telling. And as Dad said, Prince Charles said, they've been practicing long enough.
As Kate Middleton emerged for the first time in her wedding dress, the world was looking at a woman who had been preparing for royal life for a number of years.
Well, Kate's been in training now for the last 5 years of her life. She's known that the state is inevitable. Now, obviously, there's been some moments when she must have questioned that, when Prince William, for example, decided to break up with her, but that has all been to prepare her for this day. So she spent a lot of time observing the royal family. She's spoken a lot to Prince William, but then there are, you know, for example, Prince William's stepmom, Camilla Parker Bowles, has been one of her key advisors. So what she's really done is she's been like a sponge, and all of the senior royals around her, and also all of the senior royal courtiers around her and her husband, she's really picked up advice from them. But the difference with Diana is Diana had to take all of this in about 6 months' time. Kate Middleton's had years.
And there's a veil, and there is Kate Middleton. We can see that the train of the dress helped into the rear of the vehicle, lace surrounding Kate Middleton's neck and the veil.
That bouquet is very similar, isn't it? Matching the design, Shane Connolly's design from inside the Abbey with Lily of the Valley. We know that there'll be a sprig of myrtle in there, the original bush that there was a sprig of myrtle in Queen Victoria's wedding bouquet, and they planted a bush from that, and all the royal brides since then have had a little clip of myrtle put into their bouquet.
Well, they're alongside her.
Is that how long does that look? They seem to be hauling a bit of a train
into the car. And a great view there of the proud father, Mike Middleton, as he adjusts his jacket, a reassuring pat on the arm for his daughter.
Lily of the Valley on his lapel.
Last night, Catherine Middleton spent the night surrounded by her family in a hotel they'd booked out, full of love and warmth, and we know that Princess Diana had her dinner on her tray along the road in Clarence House with Her Majesty the Queen Mother, but a woman who was in her 80s, you know, pretty old, and alone, not with her parents, not with her sisters. And of course, all that makes a difference. And of course, Diana was so young, 20, and you have Kate Middleton, who's nearly 10 years older, well-educated, very stable, very confident. I think this morning we saw a bride who's going to be very happy in this royal family.
And indeed, the bridesmaids emerging from the Goring Hotel, and don't they look absolutely beautiful? Ivory little gowns with what looks like a sort of champagne bow at the back, the tiniest of them there.
Those little
Grace Van Cutsem
that they're wearing are designed and made by Shane Connolly, who has also done the flowers.
2 Daimler motor cars loaded up with the bridesmaids.
Pippa Middleton in a beautifully sleek, elegant dress.
the little bridesmaids could have been bridesmaids over the last 10, 15 years. Classic, traditional little girls' dresses.
She looks fantastic.
Pippa looks amazing.
They look like they could misbehave too. It's going to be interesting.
Apparently they're going to be taken away. The littlest ones might be moved away.
Well, we're hoping for a bit of misbehaving, aren't we?
We like that.
Everybody standing here behind us, the million people lining the route, all wanted that shot of the dream princess.
Yeah.
And we've only seen a glimpse so far of what she will
But
be.
she hasn't let us down, has she?
But absolutely, she hasn't let us down.
So a beautiful bodice.
Lace, that
of
sort of
lace.
pure lace it looks like.
It looks very
Classic,
similar
elegant
to
look.
Princess Grace of Monaco's. Do you remember that very
I
famous
do.
dress?
Yes,
That a lot of
indeed.
people have taken inspiration from, and it's
And the
very
most
appropriate.
delicate of veils.
And I
we can
wonder-
still see
and I-
her beautifully, can't we?
I wonder whose tiara she's wearing. I wonder if that's not the Spencer tiara.
Yes, I'm still waiting for information
don't know.
on that tiara, yes.
This is when the British come into their own. We have all the equipment. We have the household cavalry. We have the wonderful carriages. We have those ancient Rolls Royces. And there's a great spirit here. A spirit I think you could say was evocative of 1981 and the wedding of Prince William's parents, Charles and Diana. There's a real enthusiasm for it.
Let's listen to the crowd as she arrives at the Abbey.
It's 11 o'clock, the bells are ringing. And these are the last few moments when Kate Middleton will be Kate Middleton.
Miss Kate Middleton.
She is wearing brand Alexander McQueen. It is a wedding dress that has been designed, as was speculated, by Sarah Burton. So if you imagined a fairy tale princess and her dress, is that the picture you had in your mind? I think perhaps it might have been.
It is the sight, after all these months of build-up and speculation, that many have been longing for. And she's taking a moment to give the crowd a wave.
The team have said that the dress epitomises timeless British craftsmanship by drawing together talented and skilled workmanship from across the United Kingdom.
Kate Middleton at the top of the aisle of Westminster Abbey, the place she will leave as a princess.
Kate and William chose Westminster Abbey for two reasons. The first is that actually as a building it's more intimate, so it does feel like it's smaller, and whereas St Paul's is such a grand, big structure, and that said something about their view of the day. And then the other reason they chose it is because Westminster Abbey is the traditional home of the royal wedding, and everything about this wedding has been about a return to tradition. And believe me, as it stands at the moment, Prince William wants this marriage for life, and it's very much making that a very clear message to the world.
be ye well assured that so many as are coupled together otherwise than God's word doth allow, are not joined together by God, neither is their matrimony lawful. William Arthur Philip Louis, wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife, to live together according to God's law in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honour and keep her, in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other keep thee only unto her, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
Catherine Elizabeth, wilt thou have this man to thy wedded husband, to live together according to God's law in the holy estate of matrimony? Wilt thou love him, comfort him, honour and keep him, in sickness and in health, and forsaking all other keep thee only unto him, so long as ye both shall live?
I will.
It was very clever of Catherine Middleton, who has done nothing to shock or surprise us. No bad leaks, no bad stories. This is a dress she could have almost worn in her local parish church out in the country. A beautiful dress, but nothing that will frighten the horses, nothing that will stun people. And she looked beautiful and very confident.
Abide in thy peace and favour, and live together in love until their lives end.
The ceremony itself was virtually flawless. The only moment where there was any anxiety was when it appeared William was having a difficult time getting Kate's wedding band on her very, very slim fingers. I think that was possibly because they were shaking at the time rather than the fact that the ring didn't fit.
Up where you passed through the screen into that top bit of Westminster Abbey, you did feel that William and Kate, surrounded as they were by clergy, not by their family, were on their own, getting married. And it was a very traditional service, one that goes on up and down Protestant churches all over the world.
From what I hear bubbling under the surface, Kate and William called the shots on this wedding. From the trees that lined the aisle in the Abbey, to the music, to the way the vows were written, how the reception is going to be orchestrated tonight. It's all about what they want.
All around the Abbey there were lilies of the valley, which of course the bride carried in her bouquet, and the smell, I went to Westminster Abbey last night, fantastic. And all these white, off-white, cream flowers, roses, wisteria, everything, absolutely all over the Abbey with loads and loads of candles, many more candles than they usually use. Stunning. The trees were an idea concocted between Catherine Middleton and Shane Connolly, who did the flowers. And the trees softened the Abbey and made it look like a tree-lined avenue. And I'm afraid it has set a trend. I think many brides will be saying, ah yes, I want trees for my wedding.
The ceremony was a truly joyous event. As Kate Middleton stepped out of Westminster Abbey as a princess for the first time, she was officially entering a family that held her in very high regard.
Given she is a commoner, the royal family have a high opinion of Kate. Prince Charles in particular was close to her from the early days. Camilla has obviously become involved. Camilla Parker Bowles, now Prince Charles's wife, has become involved and even took her to lunch quite publicly before the wedding as a real show that she's accepted Kate into the fold. The Queen and Prince Philip haven't met her as many times, but you wouldn't expect them to because they are still much more formal and ceremonial in terms of how they live their life. But they did, just the week before the wedding, manage to meet Kate's parents, which was quite significant too.
Well, I think overall there was a fantastic feeling of pride and joy with the ceremony. You know, as soon as we saw the Queen, she really set the mood because she was wearing bright yellow, which traditionally is a royal color which symbolizes optimism and joy. She was also wearing a brooch, a beautiful diamond brooch, which is called the Lover's Knot. And I think she, with her own obvious joy at this occasion, kind of set the precedent for the nation, who has been really unabashedly excited.
It was a very brave choice for the Queen to go with a canary yellow. Not an easy color for the British complexion, but the Queen has always danced to her own drum, and there she had it. She was the only one in yellow, and you know, great. We're coming off a season in summer, which is all about vibrant colors, tangerine, cobalt blue, which we saw on Tara Palmer Tompkinson, and then, you know, the yellow on the Queen. Great. Good for her.
I think in this country it's been a bit of a slow burn, but the last few days it's really been at fever pitch, and I think the wedding, really, it wasn't a disappointment to anyone. It was just what we wanted it to be. It was a real Cinderella story, you know, a young woman who grew up as a normal girl who, you know, emerged from that abbey as a royal. They really rehearsed this thing into the ground. I mean, they had so many rehearsals. Kate rehearsed with a train several times walking down the aisle. They even practiced Kate getting in and out of a carriage with the train so that that would go smoothly. And you know, those beautiful young little bridesmaids, 2 of whom were only 3 years old, they had to practice everything with them, including blasting loud noise at them from speakers so they wouldn't be startled by the sheer volume of the crowd on the big day.
My opinion of the dress was that it was youthfully regal. It was modern with a classic twist to it, which was fantastic because I didn't want Kate to sort of lose touch of Kate in the whole pageantry of this occasion. And I think Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen did a sublime job. I think the lace was so effortlessly executed. It was almost as if she had like a white tattoo all the way down her arm, and the fine buttons, and then you saw that quintessential McQueen detail on the ruff of the spine. I thought the skirt was just enough skirt for a venue like the Abbey. I think, you know, to have something slimmer with a long train, she might not have filled that space with the sort of ease as she did with this dress. But I thought she looked very, very beautiful, very exquisite, seriously polished, and it had finesse about it.
It seemed to me that Kate was very much channeling Princess Grace from the minute she arrived. First of all, you'll notice the dresses are very, very similar, with a lot of beautiful Chantilly lace at the bodice. Additionally, Kate today wore Princess Grace's perfume that she wore on her wedding day. It's by Creed and it's called Florissimo, and it was designed for Grace by her husband, Prince Rainier. I think Kate, consciously or subconsciously, wanted to remind the world that this has been done before, a commoner marrying a future king. And with Kate's lovely, slender build, her very elegant looks, I think she really was channeling the late Princess Grace in more ways than one.
I thought the dress was very beautiful, but not astounding. And in this, it shows Catherine Middleton's actual behavior all the way through. If you remember Diana's dress, it was slightly over the top, it was huge, it had the longest train of any royal bride, I think 25 feet. It was astonishing. This dress today was beautiful, with amazing embroidery that you don't see very clearly on TV, but we'll all see in the photographs. And she looked lovely. It's very typical of her character, I think. Very English. The whole thing looked very English.
Harry is known for his mischievous sense of humor, and his best man speech is a closely guarded secret. He actually had to get it approved by royal advisors in advance, and he has been strongly encouraged not to improvise.
Oh, Harry looked amazing. Harry had a navy military uniform with more gold embroidery and gold sort of chain. Bling was it. Looked fantastic. All the medals, all the sashes, both of them, 6 foot plus, looked amazing.
Prince Harry may not have been getting married today, but he does have the distinction of being the most Googled member of the royal family as soon as the ceremony was over. He looked so handsome in his uniform. He had a cheeky grin on his face the whole time, and I think an awful lot of girls are going to be setting their sights on the last available prince.
Given it was his big day, Prince William's outfit didn't go unnoticed.
Prince William looked fantastic in that sort of royals and blue red uniform. Very unusual, matched the red of that carpet that went up the centre of Westminster Abbey. He looked marvellous. And the white gloves when he was waving at the crowds, he looked the dashing prince. If only he could have ridden up to Westminster Abbey, he would have been the perfect prince, wouldn't he?
Oh, William looked so handsome today. He really looks like Diana's son. He absolutely he's never looked better. And I think his choice to wear vivid scarlet, of course representing the Irish Guard, was an absolutely brilliant choice. He stood out amidst all of the greenery in the Abbey like a cardinal. He was absolutely fantastic.
On the day of the wedding, Kate Middleton's radiant beauty was such that it was a hot topic throughout the world. And she clearly went all out to make sure she looked perfect on the most important day of her life.
So there's been a lot of speculation that Kate Middleton actually had some extensions put in for the wedding because she was worried that a few months before the wedding her hair was too thin. Now obviously it's very possible that this is something that she will never go public with, but looking at her hairstyle in the days before the wedding, it definitely looked as if it had been thickened because she had really big curls going on, which she's never had before. So it seems like she tricked us a bit by getting some extensions in there.
Royal sources tell me that the royals indicated very strongly to Kate that they would prefer her to wear her hair up for this very special occasion. However, Kate had her heart set on wearing her hair down with long flowing curls, which is her favorite way to wear it, and actually William's favorite as well. They ended up compromising on her look. She had kind of a half up, half down. So from the front, she had an updo. From the back, she had the long flowing curls she wanted.
Obviously, one thing Kate did have was the luxury of time before the wedding. So she spent hours on her hair and makeup, facial after facial after facial, and she even spent 5 hours in the hairdressers a few days before the wedding. So she made sure she was going to look good for that day.
From the beginning, Kate Middleton prides herself on being a very low-maintenance bride. She always does her own makeup, and she announced she would be doing her own makeup on the day. However, I would say I defy anyone to argue that she had actually done all of her own makeup today. They were very professional-looking eyebrows. It was definitely camera-ready makeup, her eyeshadow, even the amount of foundation she had, not to be shiny and powder. I think she had definitely some professional help today. She looked absolutely stunning.
More and more people filing into the sides of the Mall, bringing up further support to the back of the crowd that has now filed all the way around the monument before Buckingham Palace, covered in flags, as is, of course, the Mall. And look, people are pretty relaxed, aren't they? There's a lovely view there of the mounted police officers, the spring sunshine, making this such an easy, comfortable journey now for those who are making their way up towards the palace.
We know that the Queen is very involved in the organisation behind those balcony doors, isn't she, in the central room?
Yes, and this is pointed out to me by somebody at Clarence House, that this is the one point of the day where the Queen takes absolute charge. There is the centre room behind the balcony, and this is the point at which the Queen decides who goes out onto the balcony first, in what order, where they stand. So you can imagine this amazing sort of scene that's going on behind the curtains there, that back onto the balcony of Her Majesty the Queen perhaps orchestrating, choreographing what happens on the balcony.
Most famous balcony in the world. First recorded balcony appearance took place in 1851 when Queen Victoria stepped onto it during the celebrations for the opening of the Great Exhibition. It was King George VI who introduced the custom of the RAF flypast.
Look at the long lenses trained on just one spot at the front of Buckingham Palace, where every single pair of eyes on the Mall will be trained too.
So we can see a twitch at the window. The French curtains, those little net curtains in the French windows, just a little bit of a twitch. Her Majesty the Queen organising everyone behind. Is everybody ready? Are you okay? How do you feel? Readying everyone for the noise. She, of course, has done it before. There's definitely movement inside.
We can see some movement there behind those curtains, and here we go.
Oh, wow, she says.
Oh, wow.
Make it so tight.
And a lovely moment, because the Queen has allowed the royal couple some time on their own for the crowd to take that first glimpse in as they emerged onto the balcony. And now here they are, joined by the tiniest of the bridesmaids, Eliza Lopez and Grace Van Cutsem. We can't tell whether there's a box, but they're getting a good view. And look, the Duchess of Cornwall thoroughly enjoying herself there alongside her little granddaughter.
Prince Harry at the other end with Pippa and James.
Two proud page boys.
Yes, the planes will definitely be up there. About 3 minutes away from the flypast. This is so perfectly timed.
As Buckingham Palace was surrounded by thousands of screaming onlookers, they finally got to witness the first public kiss between Prince William and Kate Middleton since they were named man and wife.
That was the kiss that everybody wanted.
And there was no prompting or persuasion needed.
No.
And a beautiful shot of the new royal couple as they take in the view that they can scarcely have imagined, really. Such an extraordinary atmosphere of goodwill.
But also, what a thing for Kate Middleton, for Catherine, Her Royal Highness, now to end up on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. Who would have thought? I mean, that really is the most extraordinary fairy tale. She will have driven past it in a car or a cab or on a bus hundreds of times. And then there you are, one of the few to have stepped foot on that balcony and see what so few people see. That sea of people from that point of view, stretching right back
Who would have thought it as she headed to St Andrews for her first term at university.
Exactly, St Andrews must feel a long way away.
For a degree, as most of us would simply hope for a degree.
Yes.
And she comes
And
away
look
with
what
a
she
prince.
came away with. And an amazing shot we had a few moments ago of Carol and Mike Middleton standing next to the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall. And this is one of those, for them, it must be one of those pinch me moments. Is this really happening?
I think we should have one more look at that kiss. I mean, it'll be shown 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times, but
Be on
we've
the
had
front
it
page
once.
of every paper
We've had it live. So I think we should have a look at it again. 30 seconds later by the Typhoon, used to be called the Eurofighter, one of the world's most advanced aircraft, can fly twice the speed of sound. Today it's only doing 300 knots. Costs £90,000 an hour to keep it in the air. And the Tornado GR4s. Typhoons in the centre, flanked on either side by the Tornado GR4s.
And what a sight that was. And it's not just a sight, you can feel it, can't you? That thunderous noise, you can feel that ripple of sound as the Lancaster came through. And what a moment too for this particular royal couple and the new Duke of Cambridge.
Well, they had to get
so
that flight past absolutely right, because they didn't want the newer planes to catch up with the older ones in the front, so it had to be perfectly timed. So there's the Spitfire, the Hurricane and the Lancaster flying off over London.
The wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton was one that will go down in British history. It was viewed by billions of people around the world. Given that many British royal marriages have not had their fairy tale ending, William and Kate will be truly determined to make this royal wedding one that will last.
Personally, I believe this is a royal relationship that will go the distance. Then again, we said the same thing with Prince Charles and Princess Diana. We said the same thing with Fergie and Prince Andrew. However, Prince William is aware of how important the longevity of this relationship is, not just for him personally, and not even just for his family, but for the entire future of the monarchy in Great Britain. The fact is, though, I believe that Prince William waited so long to pop the question because he wanted to be certain that this marriage could last. He's put so much into this relationship. He's seen how catastrophic divorce can be for the royal family. So I think him and Kate will go the distance.
You know, when Prince Charles married Princess Diana, it had a very fairy tale quality to it. I think this is a different generation, it's a different world today, and I think while today was magical, what we saw was a real wedding between two people who know each other very well and love each other very much. It had a very different feel, but it actually made it more intimate. I think it made it more real and more relatable to the people watching. Their love story may not be as glamorous as when Charles met Diana, but I think it's all the more real and ultimately all the more lasting.